get your attention, I don't know what will. Amen. Shabbat shalom. Wait, guys, come on. 1, 2, 3. Shabbat shalom. And welcome to the Way of Truth through Torah. Use my back being to you. We are back live streaming after 3 weeks of being absent. We've had some sicknesses and some crazy stuff going on, but it is good to be back, and we're happy to be with y'all. And welcome to everyone. We've already got one person watching, Seth Green. Seth, welcome on board. Man, it's good to have you here. Well, I'm not real sure that we even remember how to do this. Oh, guys, before we get started, everybody turn into Deuteronomy 6:4.
It's page 193 in here.
On page 193 in your scriptures Bible. And we are going to say the Shema. Hey, girls, y'all come up here with me?
She would do that.
Anybody? Everybody? Okay, ready. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh our Elohim, Yahweh is one. And you shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, and with all your being, and with all your might. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. And it shall be, when Yahweh your Elohim brings you into the land of which he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Yishak, and to Yaakov, to give you great and good cities which you did not build, and houses filled with all kinds of goods which you did not build, and wells dug which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant, and you shall eat and be satisfied. Be on guard, lest you forget Yahweh, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim from the house of bondage. Fear Yahweh your Elohim, and serve him, and swear by his name. Amen.
Amen.
And so, guys, this is the prayer that is prayed in Israel, 3 times a day, Shalom. And it basically is, Israel, listen, hear, open your ears, and do and obey. And so for our live streamers, we're glad that you got to come with us, and I hope you got to Shema as well. We are going to be starting in Exodus 18 today. But before we even get there, I'm going to read to you a little bit out of Isaiah. Because, guys, we've got such a misunderstanding of the commandments. When I was a little kid, they were plastered everywhere. They were in the courthouses. They were in the classrooms. Listen, when I was a kid, and it was a long time ago, but albeit, when I was a kid, we did prayer and devotions every morning before school even started. And that was the way we are. We're in Texas. In Texas, we still prayed to God. We still talked Yah. So what happened, and how have we gotten so far away from the obedience to the commandments? And we're going to go over that today. But I want you to hear the words of Isaiah, and I want you to hear what he's going to tell us, because, friends, I'm telling you, he's not talking about back then. He's talking about the latter days. And when are the latter days, guys? What? They're now.
It's in the future.
It's in the future. It's definitely in the future from when he was, right? But for Isaiah, he's talking to, listen, we are part of that latter. Well, I've got too many notes in here. For the latter days, it sure was. I want you to listen as I read. And if you've got anything to add, and for you new guys, listen, if you've got any words to share, all you have to do is go, hey, me, and we will stop, because you're going to find that this is a class that we really teach and work with each other. And our prayer is one day we have a man that is going to be teaching the whole class, because women can do it, but we want a man. So we're praying for a man to stand up and get there. So, okay. Isaiah chapter 1, verse 1. And we are on page 414 in the Scriptures Bible if you want to follow along. is a vision of Yeshayahu, son of Amatz, when he saw, which he saw concerning Yehuda and Jerusalem. So this is the two houses. And for those of you who may be new, there are Isaiah chapter 1, verse 1. Isaiah 1:1, page 414. There are two houses. There are still two houses. There's the house of Judah and the house of Israel. That they were split after King David's son was really rude to his people, and they split. The house of Israel went north. The house of Judah stayed put in Jerusalem, and it started the split. The house of Israel ended up going into captivity with the Assyrians. After their captivity was over, they went to the four corners of the world. I'm sitting here looking at a bunch of Israelites right now. You probably don't even know it. If you went to Scotland, if you went to Italy, if you went to France, if you went to Ireland, if you went to Australia, guys, listen.
Don't forget about Texas.
Yeah, if you came to Texas, you too may be Israel. But even if you weren't born Israelite, guys, listen. Yah wants us to choose, and I want you to hear the words, because his children are Israel, and we choose to be Israel. Now, we don't choose to be Jewish, and I'm not even talking about the Jewish religion, because they have gotten as off track as a Christian religion. The Jews don't believe there's a Messiah. The Christians don't believe there's a law. What's the new man believe? The new man believes there's both, and you got to have both, okay? Your righteousness, and it can be found in what verse, Dennis? Oh no, he's
6:25.
Deuteronomy 6:25. And what does it say?
It is righteousness for us, or our righteousness, when we guard to do all the command before Yahweh our Elohim, as he commands us.
So in Deuteronomy, and I'm going to tell you something, Paul recites the Torah. The Torah and the whole Old Testament are recited in the New Testament.
In one book, it's 85 times, 80 or 80.
Is that Romans?
Romans, yes.
Just in Romans. So to think that Paul was saying do away with the law is
He didn't.
no. What is sad is we don't understand who Paul was. Paul, Shaul, which was what his name was, he was a rabbi. He was taught at the knees of Gamaliel, and Gamaliel was a grandson of Hillel. So he was taught to be a Pharisee. He tells you, I'm a Pharisee of Pharisees. I'm a Roman. I am what I need to be, right? So as a Pharisee, he grew up learning the Talmud. And the Talmud is not the Torah, friends. It is something that the Pharisees, the Pharisaical laws came up with.
Oral law.
It was the oral law that was passed down. They were trying their very best to make sure that nobody broke the law, okay? They didn't want to see anybody break the law. So they added to until the Talmud. Does anybody know how thick the Talmud actually is?
All the time.
It's 77 volumes to come up with the full Talmud. It is huge. This is a burdensome law that Yeshua talks about.
And not everything written in it is beneficial. You know,
There's a listen. I don't recommend reading it.
No.
If you want to read, if you want to study the Word of Yah. Study what's been written for us, but don't go into the Talmud. It's pharisaical. It's what the Pharisees came up with. Now you can, if once you've learned the Word, go over and look at what it says. But if you are not knowledgeable in what the Word says, what the commandments are for us, don't venture out until you've got a firm footing, right? Okay, so now that we understand there are two houses, he's talking to both houses here, okay? In chapter 1, verse 2, hear, O heavens, and listen, O earth. We got two witnesses there. He says, listen, for Yahweh has spoken. I have reared and brought up children, but they have transgressed against me. An ox knows its owner, and a donkey its master's crib. Yisrael does not know, my people have not understood. So I want you to understand that he's talking to a very unrighteous nation right here. This is who Yeshayahu or Isaiah is talking to. He says, alas, sinning nation, a people loaded with crookedness, a seed of evildoers, sons acting corruptly. They have forsaken Yahuwah. They have provoked the set apart one of Yisrael, and they have gone backwards. Whoa, what would they be called? if you're going backwards.
Backslide.
A backslider. Does a backslider get through the kingdom door?
No.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Listen, guys, we can go into John and we can see that Yeshua says, if you stay in me, I'll stay in you, which means we have an option. You can get out of him. You can turn your back on him. You can walk away from him. He is the walking, talking, living, breathing law of Yah. All of it. That's who he is. And he came and he walked it out. So, okay. Perfectly. So a backslider. He's talking to us. We are those backsliders. Why should you be stricken anymore? You continue in apostasy. What does it say about the end time church? It's going to be a church that is apostate. What does that mean? Turns away from the word. Completely cold. Having nothing to do with this word. Listen, we have some really good churches out there. I'm not going to bash a church, but we've got a lot of churches that are out there for entertainment. Yep. And I'm talking, you can go Hebrew roots, it doesn't matter. There are the same entertainment churches. We want to have the best entertainment, the biggest entertainment centers. We want to have the greatest number of people. Listen, guys, if you aren't affecting and changing lives, if you aren't teaching people the obedience of the word,
it's emotional.
It is an emotion.
It draws us into
Emotions, listen, emotions won't cause you to do because they don't cause belief. If they did, those Israelites, as emotional as they got with all those plagues that they were seeing, listen, if emotions could cause you to be obedient children, they would have been the most obedient children.
Yes.
Emotions cause you to sin?
Anger especially.
Oh, that's
emotion.
That's what y'all has really been working on me. And y'all weren't here last week, but yeah, I really messed my back up bad because I was mad. And so, y'all, listen, it doesn't matter where you are on this walk, and it is a walk, and for some of us it's a slow walk, and it's a long walk, but it doesn't matter where you are. Y'all's going to do what he needs to do. Listen, if you've got little sheep out in the field and one keeps straying off, what did the sheep herder do? He goes and gets it, but sometimes it will break its leg to keep it from straying off, because the sheep alone is going to be eaten. A sheep alone is going to become someone else's meal, and it's not going to be yours. So sometimes they would break a leg because they love their sheep. Our shepherd sometimes will allow us to be hurt in order to slow us down so that we can learn. So we use every opportunity to learn from and not to be angry from.
A broken and contrite spirit.
So we've got, that's right, a broken and contrite spirit. Listen, we have we're there, guys. We're there where right is wrong and wrong is right. I've never seen it come upon us as fast as this, and we're going to see more as I go forward. But we're there. We're there where the churches are apostate. I have had people totally get angry at me because I'm like, yeah, well, we follow the Torah. That's all I have to say. Yeah, anger.
But don't understand it.
They don't understand.
That's the thing.
Because it is freeing. They're like, why would you want to go back under that law?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I don't think any of us have ever been under that law because we didn't understand it. If we understood it, if our churches understood it, if we had wiped out the seminaries, everything would be changed.
The word says Jesus came to fulfill the law anyway.
That's
not to
right.
abolish it. So even people who follow Christ and just don't even go back into the Old Testament, they stay in the New Testament. Even Jesus said, I did not come to abolish the law.
That's right.
But to fulfill.
That's exactly right. He didn't come to abolish. So he walked it out. And this is basically what I put as our, well, my feet are tied up under here. Basically what I put as our intro for our live stream today is the commandments. If you learn them, if you obey them, if you do them, they're going to protect you, and they're going to make you walk like our Messiah walked.
Yeah, most of them are written in our hearts, you know.
They are written in our hearts.
Most of us follow a degree of the law.
But what does Jeremiah 17 say about our hearts?
We got sinful natures.
We-
We're all born with a sinful nature. For sure, our hearts are wicked at core.
That's exactly what Jeremiah 17 says. It says the heart is wicked above all. But on our hearts, he will, in the millennial period, he will write the Torah on our hearts. And I believe that they're already written on our hearts.
He wants to now.
But when our heart becomes so stony and so hard, sometimes we have to crack through it to find those laws that are written underneath. I mean, it's just been piled upon. So, Oh, well, let me get started back. Well, let me get started. We hadn't even started our Torah portion yet. Aye. Okay, we're in verse 5 of chapter 1 of Isaiah. Why should you be stricken anymore? You continue in apostasy. All the head is sick and the heart faints. From the sole of the foot to the head, there is no soundness in it. Wounds and bruises and open sores, they have not been closed up or bound up or soothed with ointment. Your land is laid waste. Your cities are burned with fire. Strangers devour your land in your presence, and it is laid waste as overthrown by strangers. Listen, when our border walls come completely down, and we have people from Africa and Iran and Afghanistan pouring across the borders, you're going to see our land laid waste.
Well, he tells us to make borders in our country.
If you are a
and they did that.
solemn, if you are a, come on, somebody help me.
Soul seeker?
You didn't help.
Soul seeker.
No, if you have a city, and it is a sovereign. Thank you.
Yes.
Is that Charles?
No.
Yeah.
Whoever said that, thank you. If for it to be sovereign, guys, it says it has to have walls.
And they had walls all
They
over.
had walls all around them. So should we as a nation have walls around us? We should. But that doesn't mean we stop people from coming in.
No.
We are the nation that has always said, come on in. We welcome you. Look at us. We're all a melting pot. I'm a melting pot. I looked at my genealogy. Yikes, I got everything. Except the kitchen sink. So, I would bet most of us are. Yours is pretty.
It's mostly Native American.
It's mostly-
77% Native American.
Yep. So it's really interesting. But guys, most of us in the U.S. are a melting pot. Yes.
I just want to say, even on the border, 90% of the border patrol are Hispanic, and they have nothing but compassion for people trying to come over, but they still believe in their job
Yes.
in protecting our borders. So it's not a racist thing at all.
No.
And guys, it's not
They've made it
protecting against the Hispanic people. It's protecting against the criminals. And listen, you can't get on a plane right now without having a COVID test. They're pouring across the borders. What do they not have?
COVID.
They don't have the COVID test. So I mean, guys, your land is laid waste. Your cities are burned with fire. They already started burning our cities, didn't they?
Oh God.
I'm just saying. I'm reading this because I'm telling you, I see biblical prophecy being fulfilled before our eyes. Okay, and the daughter of Zion is left as a booth in a vineyard, as a hut in a garden of cucumbers, as a besieged city. She's left by herself. Unless Yahuwah of hosts had left to us a small remnant, we would have become like Sodom, and we would have been made like Gomorrah, like Sodom and Gomorrah. Because guys, listen, he always has a remnant.
That's right.
There's always a remnant. In this room, this is a little remnant. You're a remnant of truth seekers. You're a remnant that I've never seen a group of people that dive deeper into the Word. And it's such a challenge because if you speak one word out of line, y'all get me. So it's a challenge, but that's what the remnant does. They're seeking the fullness of His Word, and that is beautiful. Here, Shema, the word of Yahuwah. We just got through reading about that. Shema, the word of Yahuwah. Every word that proceeds from His mouth. Listen, what Yah said 3,500 years ago, if He said something was bad, can it be good today? It changes not. Yah says, I change not. Hear the word of Yahuwah, you rulers of Sodom. Give ear to the Torah of our Elohim, you people of Amorah. Of what use to me are your many slaughterings, declares Yahweh. I have had enough of ascending offerings of rams and of fat-fed beasts. I do not delight in the blood of bulls or of lambs or goats. When you come to appear before me, who has required this from your hand to trample my courtyard? Now listen, a lot of people are going to say, oh, there it goes. He didn't like all that. He never said to do sacrifices. What he never said was, you sinners, come into my courtyard and do these sacrifices. That is what he said. He's saying, did I ever tell you that I wanted you to come into my courtyard and offer sacrifices is an abomination. Listen, even if the temple were there today, there's no one in this room that could march in there and offer a sacrifice. No one. We are not. And that's the irony behind the temple that will be built. They can't sanctify it. There has to be a high priest. And the high priest has to be sanctified by what? The ashes of the red heifer. The water from the ashes. So they've got a conundrum there. Okay. 13, stop bringing futile offerings. Incense is an abomination to me. New moons. And guys, this word is the new moons. Okay? He's talking about the new moons. Sabbaths, the calling of gatherings. I am unable to bear unrighteousness and assembly. Wow. My being hates your new moons. He hates, listen guys, Yah gave us a calendar. He gave it to us in Enoch and Jubilees. We know when it starts. It's never changing. It's never ending. We're on a secular calendar and we live in a secular world. And by golly, we have to use that, don't we? Or we're going to miss every appointment we have. But the calendar he had was not set by the moon. Okay? So he hates their new moons. Who brought about the new moon calendar? Babylon. The Hasmoneans, I believe, are what were trying to force the priest into observing the new moon calendar. And that's when the Zadok priest said, we're not playing this game anymore. They got up and they left. Where'd they go? Qumran. They had the perfect library there, didn't they?
Exactly.
Okay. 15, and when you spread out your hands, I hide my eyes from you. Even though you make many prayers, I do not hear. Your hands have become filled with blood.
There's another one of those many scriptures that I say that if we are not righteous, he doesn't heed.
So, live streamers, listen, did you know? Hey, Shabam from India. Good to see you there. Look at Proverbs 28:9.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's just one of my favorites because it lays it out there really simple. How many times do you hear people go, man, I have prayed, I've asked Yah, or I've asked God about this, I've prayed and prayed and prayed, but he just doesn't seem to be hearing me. Well, let's see why, okay? He who turns away his ear from hearing the Torah, even his prayer is an abomination. And there are many more verses that back these words. Like I told you, we're not going to say anything in this class that can't be backed by Scripture. And if I tell you it's my opinion, I'm going to say, hey, this is what I think, which is worth absolutely nothing, so don't repeat it. But Scripture backs this. If you're not following his Torah,
There's 7 places that
She's a
say the
counter.
same thing. Well, I counted them and I found them and I keep finding them. I mean,
they're all over the place.
yes, it's from
And,
Genesis
and you know
to
what's sad, guys, is we have taken the front part. I like the way G. Stephen
Simons.
Simons says, we just read the sliver of the book and we throw the chunk away. The sliver is a revelation of the front. The front is all about the prophecies of our Messiah. All about it. He is our Redeemer. He is the Yahuwah that is present throughout the Old Testament, guys. He's the one that we're going to see today on Mount Sinai that gave the 10 Commandments. He gave them to us.
They testify.
Nowhere.
Together.
That's exactly right.
They go hand in hand, like Jeremiah. Like the Revelations and Daniel. You know.
Yes.
They go hand in hand.
They absolutely. To understand Revelation, you have to understand Daniel. So, yeah, it's nowhere. I like to challenge anyone that you can go through the New Testament, and if you can find anything except for Paul's letters, okay, these were not books. These were letters he was writing to congregations about specific things that they were asking him about, and he was writing back to them, okay? These were letters. We don't have the privilege of seeing what they wrote to him about, but when you're looking at Corinthians, you can pretty well tell they had a lot of questions, and the women in Corinth, they were like overboard. I mean, isn't that where they had Dinah, the goddess Dinah? Diana, the god. Was it in Corinth or Ephesus?
I'm not sure.
But the women in Corinth they were really like browbeating their husbands. That's a good way to put it. So, okay, well, let's get back over here. So we understand now why sometimes our prayers are not heard, right?
We're rebellious.
Because we are a bunch of rebels, aren't we? Stiff-necked.
We want everything our way, even when what we want is not the right way.
That's right. That is so correct. That is
So
right.
often-
Isn't it, Bethany? She's like,
So often Hasatan answers,
yes.
and we think, it's from, and then we get down on a trail that's really a dead-end street.
Don't let me forget to read from Jubilees about Hasatan.
Okay.
When we came out of Mitzrayim, out of Egypt, Yah actually bound up Hasatan and his helpers for 4 days. Isn't that interesting? That's what Jubilees tells us. Okay, so verse 16, wash yourselves and make yourselves clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before my eyes and stop doing evil. And guys, listen, you want to know what evil is? What is evil, Dennis? He's my my encyclopedia. What's evil, John?
Oh, I mean the devil, the adversary.
You know what I used to think evil was? To me, the epitome of evil would be anyone who had hurt a little child. I'm like, that person is just evil.
Anything not
And
of,
sometimes
not
they
of
need it
God.
though.
Listen, let's just go to it. Let's look at Deuteronomy 17, because I want you to see what Yah says is evil. So in 17, let's look at verse 2. When there is found, and it's on page 204. When there is found in your midst, in any of your cities, which Yahuwah, your Elohim, is giving you, a man or a woman who does what is evil in the eyes of Yahweh, your Elohim, and here you go, here's what is evil, in transgressing his covenant, and has gone and served other mighty ones, and bowed down to them, or to the sun, or to the moon, or to any other host that I have not commanded. So evil is doing anything that is against his covenant. I'm gonna give you that covenant today. It's so simple, and it's so sweet, and it's so easy, and it's so freeing. Okay, we're just about through here, guys. Okay, so he says, stop doing evil. Stop doing the things that the Torah says don't do. That's all you have to do. And it's so easy, isn't it? Learn to do good. Seek right ruling. Reprove the oppressor. Reprove him. If he's oppressing, reprove him. Defend the fatherless. Plead for the widow. Learn the Torah, guys. Come now and let us reason together, says Yahuwah. Though your sins are like scarlet, they are white as snow. Though they are red as crimson, they shall be as wool. If, okay, there's the biggest little word. I think that's what it says. It's the biggest little word that we have in the whole Bible. If. So everything that you've done will be white as snow if you submit and obey, and you shall eat the good of the land. But if you refuse and rebel, that's what Jerome said, we're a bunch of rebels. If you rebel, you shall be devoured by the sword, for the mouth of Yahuwah has spoken. And really, rebellion is the same as witchcraft. If you're a rebellious person, and I was a rebellious child. I was very rebellious. Don't step on that crack. Step. Guys, listen, why does y'all give us rules? That's it. He's not giving us a bunch of rules because...
Tell him where we are. Back there.
20.
Page.
We're in Fairfield.
414. It's 414. We're in Isaiah 414. I told you wrong. I gave you wrong.
Get out of the rabbit hole. Did I carry you down there? I'm sorry. Okay. I'm gonna skip over. Well, no, I'm not. I'm gonna keep reading. I'm not gonna stop. Okay. How the steadfast city has become a whore. I have filled it with right ruling, righteousness lodged in it, but now murderers. Your silver has become dross, and your wine is mixed with water. So everything that you have literally watered it down and tainted it. It's no good. If you don't have the word, everything in your life is just going to crumble, guys. Your rulers are stubborn and Oh, listen to this. Your rulers are stubborn and companions of thieves. Everyone loves bribes and runs after rewards. They do not defend the fatherless, nor does the cause of the widow reach them. Was he writing about today? Was he here in Texas or in the United States? Therefore the Master declares, Yahuwah of hosts, the mighty one of Yisrael, I shall be eased of my adversaries, and I shall be avenged of my enemies, and I shall turn my hand against you, and shall refine your dross with lye, and shall remove all your alloy. And I shall give back your judges as at the first, and your counselors as at the beginning. And after this you shall be called the city of righteousness, a steadfast city. And again, the righteousness is when you not only do his commands, but guard. And guys, listen. That means willing to fight. You want something to stand up and fight for? We have it. His word, his Torah, his law, his commands. These are worth fighting for. Listen, even Shaul says, well, I'm going to run this race. I'm going to win. He's like, I'm going to run it like I'm going to be the first one in. Guys, this is a race.
It means willing to look crazy to everyone else.
Listen, Noah looked crazy. Building the ark.
Isaiah
They had never had rain before.
John the Baptist and Mercer looked crazy.
Yeah.
It says we're a peculiar people.
We are his peculiar
That's what it
people.
says,
I know. I sometimes look around and I'm like, y'all are so peculiar.
Yeah, a little odd.
Especially you, Grant.
What's
Just
odd
smile
though is
and
that
say thank you.
You can be a Green Bay Packer fan, you go on all the games, you have your cheese head on, acting like an animal, and that's acceptable. That's okay.
That's
Posters
right.
in your house, all over, talking about the game all week, and you're fine. You're good to go. You can do that with any team. That's acceptable. But you chase after Jesus. You go to a Bible study on Saturday, church on Sunday, and suddenly you're this mad cult.
Yes,
Especially nowadays.
absolutely.
Who believes in false doctrines and
Yes,
seducing
yes.
spirits and all. They blame everything they're doing themselves on everybody else like a narcissist.
Yes. I like that analogy there. Okay. After this, you shall be called the city of righteousness. This is what he wants from us, guys. Zion shall be ransomed and with right ruling, and her returning ones with righteousness. And the destruction of transgressors and of sinners is together. God, I'm separated there. Transgression.
Transgressors.
That was easy for you to say. A transgressor. It's an out and out rebellious person. You know what's right, but listen, I don't care what he says. I'm going to do it because I want to do it. That's what Jerome said earlier. We do what we want to do because it's what we want to do. I don't care what he says. That is a transgressor, and that is out and out rebellion. The sinners are those who are like, I didn't know that was a sin, but I did it. So it would be, but he's lumping them together here. Those who sin by ignorance. It would be the ignorance of the word. As together with those who forsake Yahuwah, they're both going to be consumed. That's scary. For they shall be ashamed of the terebinth trees which you have desired, and you shall be embarrassed because of the gardens which you have chosen. For you shall be as a terebinth whose leaf fades, and as a garden that has no water. Are you going to eat much from a garden that has no water? The strong shall be for now, and his work for a spark, and both shall burn together, and no one to extinguish it. So the burning, guys, when Yah tosses these dry branches that are fruitless into the fire, is it an eternal burning? No, you're going to burn up. Our Father is your daddy.
Mercy.
He is merciful beyond, and we're going to see even that in today's Torah portion. He is full of mercy, and his grace is what gives us the strength to walk this walk out, which is a beautiful walk. Now we're going to get into the millennial reign, and then we're going to go and actually start. We're actually going to start our Torah portion. This is just an introduction. Hello, welcome to Teddy. Teddy, don't make me come back there, boy. Chapter 2, verse 1. The word that Yeshayahu, the son of Amat, saw concerning Yehuda and Jerusalem. And it shall be in the latter days. When are the latter days? Now?
Here?
We're here. We're there.
Now.
We're here. We're there. Latter days that the mountain of the house of Yahuwah is established on the top of the mountains and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow to it. Wow. And many people shall come and say, come and let us go up the mountain of Yahweh to the house of Elohim, to the house of Elohim of Yaakov, of Jacob, and let him teach us his ways, and let us walk in his paths. For out of Zion comes forth the Torah. Who comes out of Zion? Yeshua. Yahusha, our Savior. He's the one that comes out of Zion. He is the Torah.
Walking, breathing, living Torah.
He is a walking, talking, living, breathing Torah. He's truth. He's light. He is the door into the kingdom. Listen, your righteousness will get you to that door. But if you don't have Yeshua, if you don't have the testimony of his life and death and resurrection, you're not getting through the door.
Because he's our Torah, he's our lamp unto our feet.
He is the light into our path and the lamp into our feet. That is exactly who he is. So you will make it to that door.
So if he
Through
is
his
the
Torah.
lamp, he's going to get us to the door.
That's it.
By his Torah showing us the way.
Absolutely. Follow the yellow brick road.
Because
Follow the light. Huh?
Because that in itself is the door.
That's right.
He is the door.
He is the door. Yeah, he calls himself the door.
Mm-hmm.
He is the door. You can't enter into the kingdom except through him.
That's right.
No way in. He is
You
that
got to
door.
get to the. You got to get there.
Yeah, if you don't know the way to the door, listen, you're just going to be out there stumbling about.
Get on the path.
If you get off the path and without the Torah, the guide, the lamp, and to the path, without that, you're off in the far left or the far right. And listen, when you read Ezra, the fourth book of Ezra, what does it tell us is on the right and the left?
The rushing waters and the fire.
Deep rushing waters on one side, fire on the other, and the path to the kingdom is how big?
Narrow.
One person at a
Barely
time.
big enough for one man.
One man. So listen, that means nobody can turn around and go back. Somebody can fall in. it's narrow. And guys, Ezra and Jubilees, these books were in the original canonized scriptures.
Yep.
Okay?
Until the
That they
1600s.
were taken out in the 1600s and again in the 1700s. So these were all part of scriptures. And what we do is we will go through some of these extra books and read through them as long as they go right along with scripture and they don't clash. We use them because I'm going to tell you something. There is some deep, amazing knowledge in these books.
We're in the library in the Qumran also.
They were John the Baptist. That was his library, wasn't it? It was a library for the Zadok priest, who will be the ones once the temple is rebuilt by Yeshua. He's the only one who can rebuild that actual temple.
Amen.
He's the only one. All
Man
of
will rebuild
all
it.
of Israel can come together. All of the house of Judah can come together. They can build a temple. It can be beautiful. It can be a shining mansion upon a hill. It's not Yeshua's.
It's the physical.
That is the
Not the
physical.
spiritual.
Only Yeshua can build that one.
Invisible.
Okay, are y'all ready to start a tour, Portia?
Oh, okay.
So guys, listen. He's telling us the day's coming when everyone's going to want to walk that path. Everyone's going to want it. We pray for an awakening. We pray for an awakening in our city, in our counties, in our state, in our nation. We pray for awakening in this world because, listen, there's few of us. Very few. And we are odd to the world.
Peculiar. Set apart.
Yep, we're very peculiar. Okay, 18:1 in Exodus, and we are on page 205. And guys, here we've got Sadia. She's in Qatar. Welcome. I hope you can understand my Texas slang. My slang from East Texas. The priest, the Levites, all the tribe of Levi have no part, no inheritance with Yisrael. I'm not there.
Where are you?
Did I confuse y'all?
Where-
I was in
She's the wrong
Deuteronomy.
place.
Okay.
But listen, it was good. I was like, I don't remember studying this. And Yithro. Here we go. Yithro. Y'all remember who Yithro is?
Yes.
Ra'ul.
Father-in-law.
18. So we're actually on page 75. I so misled every one of you.
Yeah, I was on the page you said.
Don't believe
I looked at it, I
anything.
was like,
Yeah, see, don't believe anything I say.
you're good.
Hubbard.
Right?
Okay, in Yithro, the priest of Midian Moshe's father-in-law heard of all that Elohim had done for Moshe and for Yisrael, his people, and that Yahuwah had brought Yisrael out of Mitzrayim. And Yithro, Moshe's father-in-law, took Zipporah, the wife of Moshe, after he had sent her, and her 2 sons, of whom the name of one was Gershom, for he said, I have been a sojourner in a foreign land. And the name of the other was Eleazar, for he said, the Elohim of my father was my help, and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh. Yithro, Moshe's father-in-law, came with his sons and his wife to Moshe in the wilderness, where he was camped at the mountain of Elohim. And he said to Moshe, I, your father-in-law, Yithro, am coming to you with your wife and your 2 sons with her. And Moshe went out to meet him, his father-in-law, and he bowed down and he kissed him, and they asked each other about their welfare, and they went into the tent. So guys, listen, I am starting to study I want to show you, there's some differences, okay? I've got a bunch of books coming. I've already told Valerie, I'm a poor girl now. I've spent all my money on books. But this is the Israelite Samaritan version of the Torah. And Jerome, you're the one that got me started on this, because the Masoretic text, Masoretic text, were distorted. Things were left out. So I want to show you just one of the differences here. And it is this has actually got the Masoretic text and the Samaritan side by side, which is really amazing because you can check them. And I'm just really enjoying it. But unfortunately, this is just the first 5 books. So I have the prophets, the minor and the major prophets, and the rest of the text coming. Because what we do here is we dive as deep as we can, and we want the truth, and we want nothing but the truth. So help me, Yahweh.
Seek and you shall find.
Knock and the door will be
You shall
open.
answer.
That is exactly
When
right.
he says that we gotta be even wiser than the Pharisees to get into the kingdom, that takes a lot of digging.
Does it? Because I don't think the Pharisees studied the Torah.
Well,
They're studying
They had a
Talmud.
lot of memorized, they memorized it, but they didn't understand a lot of spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
They
Was
just had it
our
in their mind.
righteousness must exceed their righteousness? Is it
Yes.
John?
Tim, would you do me a favor? In the Sefer, would you go ahead and pull up, do you know where in Yasher you're going to find the verses about who Ra'ul was? Because I want,
Yes, sir.
go to, I think it's Yasher 67:24. Can you pull that up? Yasher 67:24. Okay, in the Samaritan text, in verse 7, and I want you to look at the difference here. In the Masoretic, which is what the scriptures is pretty much taken after, it says, and Moshe went out to meet his father-in-law, and he bowed and he kissed him. In the Samaritan text, it says, and Moshe went out to meet his father-in-law, and he bowed down to Moshe and kissed him. He bowed to the authority that Moshe had. And for you new guys that are in here, and for some of our new live streamers, you don't know, but Ra'ul was actually a counselor to Pharaoh. And in his counseling to Pharaoh in Yasher, he counseled him to not go against the Israelites. He's like, look, these guys are blessed by Abba Yah. And when he got through, Pharaoh was so mad at him, Ra'ul got up, took the stick of Joseph, which is a blue sapphire rod, which Moshe ends up having, and he leaves and he goes back home to Midian. So he was actually a counselor to Pharaoh. Okay, you want to talk to us about Ra'ul, Tim? Just that one verse will be perfect. 67:24 through, let me see. Go ahead and start reading. I'll tell you when to stop.
And the king sent and called his 2 counselors, Ra'ul the Midianite and Ra'ul the Uzi.
Okay, so this is Jethro, Ra'ul, the Midianite, and it's Job. So many people don't understand that Job was, back in those days, and he was a counselor to Pharaoh. And he's actually the one that counseled Pharaoh to cast the little boys into the river. So when we look at the book of Job, and you see he was a righteous man. He was a righteous man. And in the book of Job, listen, he had obviously changed his ways. But when he was in Mitzrayim, in Egypt, he said, cast those firstborn Israelites, cast them into the river, let the crocodiles take care of them. What did he lose? Everything. He lost everything. Okay? So
His sons.
sometimes we don't see the fullness of the picture. Okay, keep going.
And they came and sat before the king. And the king said to them, Behold, you have both heard the dream which I have dreamed, and the interpretation thereof. Now therefore give counsel and know, and see what is to be done to the children of Israel, whereby we may prevail over them, before their evil shall spring up against us. And roll the Midianite answered the king and said, May the king live, may the king live forever. If it seems good to the king, let him desist from the living and leave them, and let him not stretch forth his hand against them.
Okay, stop right there. What was he saying? He said, don't stretch forth your hand against the Israelites. Now skip all the way over to, because he goes on for a very, very, very long time telling him exactly why he shouldn't. He's like, do you remember when Abraham met Abimelech? Do you remember all these stories? Everybody failed against Yah. Everyone. Don't go against him. He really gave him wise counsel. Go to verse 41 and read all the way down through 44.
And when Pharaoh heard the words of Jethro, he was very angry with him, so that he rose with shame from the king's presence, and went to Midian, his land, and took Joseph's stick with him.
But he spoke the truth.
Keep going.
And the king said to Levoi the Uthi,
No.
What say you, Levoi? And what is your advice respecting the Levium? So Levoi said to the king, Behold, all the inhabitants of the land are in your power, that the king do as it seems good in his eyes. And the king said unto Balaam, What do you say, Balaam? Speak your word that we may hear it.
Okay, so Job went right along with Balaam, who was the sorcerer, who shows up again at the end of Numbers to curse. That's who Barak called Balaam and said, curse those Israelites. Look how big they are. They're taking over our land. Curse them. Could Balaam curse them? How many times had he been up against the Elohim, the God of Abraham, Yishak, and Yaakov? Enough to know I can't come against him. Yes, sir.
I just researched what yo means. It's actually yo. It means hated or persecuted.
Oi! Oi! And so this is the one they're saying. He's a righteous man. But by the time that he had raised a family, left Egypt, he had become a righteous man. And listen, even Ahab. You can read in Scripture, if you've read through the stories of Ahab and Jezebel, even Ahab, Yah says, look at him. He's a man after my own heart. And I was like, Ahab? Ahab was bad to the bone, but he did make you laugh because...
But they had, these men had seen the power of Yah.
Yes.
I mean, they saw it with the Israelites, and so that's what he wanted in the beginning, for the people to see it wasn't the Israelites, because they were little bitty, no nothing. It was his power.
That's right.
That was going through them, and that's what he wants us to see. It's his power.
Absolutely.
Here also mentions that the patriarch famous for his patience.
And he was patient with all those friends, weren't they? They're like, well, this is why you didn't do this and you didn't.
God,
Yeah, he refused to curse Yah. Totally.
He didn't say what the name of the Torah portion was called today.
What?
Yethro,
Yethro.
His Excellence.
His It's the high priest.
Yeah.
It's the high priest. And Raul. So Jethro has many names.
Yes. About 10, I mean.
Yeah, and
But it means something.
there's another name that he's called Ha'aba'u, and in
Somewhere
the
it shows.
Samaritan scriptures, it actually says that Haba'u was actually Raul's son, the brother to Zipporah. And that he was actually the one that Moshe said, come, guide us through the desert. This is your land, you know it. But guys, listen, isn't it interesting that Moshe has come straight back to the very place that Yah first got his attention? Isn't that fascinating? I'm just like, That is just amazing. And this is where father-in-law meets him, is here.
I still want to know why Jethro told him not to circumcise one of his sons.
Well, Jethro was not a follower of Yah.
But they circumcised one of them, but not the other one.
Well, the firstborn they didn't circumcise.
Right.
The second one they circumcised because,
Zipporah.
But it never says why, though. I can't find it anywhere.
He's wondering why.
well, it's because he was a heathen.
Yeah.
And that was, to him, it seemed a foreign practice, because you're going to see in this Torah portion that he finally goes, oh, wow, now I see. He's the God of gods. He's higher than all. And he finally offers a sacrifice to him. So before he comes and sees, he already knew how bad Pharaoh was. He was a counselor to him. And he actually, if you go by the book of Yasher, he had imprisoned Moshe for 10 years. He put him in prison when he showed up at his doorstep. He was like, oh, I might can get a bounty for your head. So he imprisoned him for 10 years. Going to the book of Yasher. Okay.
It's
Verse,
amazing how Yahuwah works everything out. It looks like it's so bad, but what is intended for evil, he uses for good. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's just so intertwined that you go, man.
listen, if fixing to yank everything down, if Moshe hadn't been imprisoned by Ra'ul for 10 years, the timing would have been totally off.
Exactly. And it was something for Moshe to learn during that time. It was teaching him
Yep,
and giving him experience to be able to do what he did
That's
with
right.
the Israelites.
that's right.
Same way with us.
Oh, wow, yeah,
It's the same way with us.
yeah,
If we use it
yep.
to his glory.
Okay, are y'all ready to go forward?
See,
We're in Exodus now.
We are in Exodus.
Just
We're
tell me
in
where we are.
chapter 18. And we are in, we're in verse 7. And Moshe went out to meet his father-in-law, bowed down, kissed him, and they asked each other about their welfare, and they went into the tent. And as we see in the Samaritan text, he actually bowed down to Moshe. And Moshe told his father-in-law all that Yahweh had done to Pharaoh and to the Mitzrites, to the Egyptians, for Israel's sake, all the hardship that had come upon them on the way, and how Yahweh had delivered them. He rescued them. And Yithro rejoiced for all the good which Yahweh had done for Yisrael, which he had delivered out of the hand of the Mitzrites. And Yithro said, Blessed be Yahuwah, who has delivered you out of the hand of the Mitzrites and set out. What time is it? Is it already 1:30? Okay, we're going to finish 18 and then we're going to break. And Yithro said, Blessed be Yahuwah, who has delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians and out of the hand of Pharaoh, and who has delivered the people from under the hand of the Mitzrites, or the Egyptians. Now I know. So here's the key right here. He says, now, finally, after all these years, finally I know that Yahuwah is greater than all the mighty ones. All those little G-gods that he saw in Egypt, all the little G-gods that they had in Midian, he says, finally I know that Yahuwah is greater than all of the mighty ones. Indeed, in the matter in which they acted proudly above them. Then Yithro, the father-in-law of Moshe, brought an ascending offering and other slaughterings unto Elohim. And Aharon came with all the elders of Israel to eat bread with the father-in-law of Moshe before Elohim. And it came to be on the next day that Moshe sat rightly ruling the people. And the people stood before Moshe from morning until evening. And when the father-in-law of Moshe saw all that he did for the people, he said, What is this that you are doing for the people? Why do you sit by yourself and all the people stand before you from morning until evening? Don't you know it was a mess? There's no telling. There was probably no order to it, total chaos. Everybody standing there waiting for their right ruling from this one person. Aye. And Moshe said to his father-in-law, because the people come to me to seek Elohim, and when they have a matter, they come to me, and I rightly rule between one and another, and make known the laws of the Elohim and his Torah, his commandments. So, did Moshe already have his commandments? Yes, he did. Everybody's looking at their phones. Everybody's like, oh, is my phone? And the father-in-law of Moshe said to him, what you're doing is not good. Both you and these people with you shall certainly wear yourselves out. For the matter is too heavy for you. You are not able to do it by yourself. Now listen to my voice and let my counsel to and let me counsel you, and Elohim be with you. Stand before Elohim for the people, and you shall bring the matters to Elohim, and you shall enlighten them concerning the laws and the Torah, the commandments, and show them the way in which they should walk and the work which they should do. Do you hear what he's saying? This is even Ra'ul. He's saying you can teach them the way to walk. You can teach them the right path. You can teach them the right work that you should be doing. But you yourself seek out from all the people able men who fear Elohim, men of truth, hating unfair gain, and place these over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. And they shall rightly rule the people at all times. And it shall be that they bring every great matter to you, but they themselves rightly rule every small matter. So make it lighter for yourself, for they shall bear with you. If you do this, and Elohim shall command you, then you shall be able to stand, and all these people also go to their place in peace. And Moshe listened to the voice of his father-in-law and did all he said. And Moshe chose able men out of all of Yisrael and made them heads over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. And they rightly ruled the people at all times. The hard matters they brought to Moshe, but they rightly ruled every small matter for themselves. And Moshe sent off his father-in-law, and he went away to his own land. Now, guys, I want you to understand something here. When you go over to this is so amazing, because having another book to study besides Jubilees and Yasher, and when you go over here, Moshe didn't select the man.
He didn't what?
He didn't select the man. He allowed each tribe, like the tribe of Issachar and the tribe of Dan and the tribe, all of these tribes, he said, you guys select the men amongst you that walk right, teach right, know right from wrong, who you respect. And each tribe selected their man, brought him to Moshe, and Moshe said, okay, this is what you're going to do. You're going to be over thousands. You're going to be over hundreds. You're going to be over tens. So Moshe allowed the tribes themselves. Can you imagine 1 million people, and you're going to select the ones who are going to rightly rule? And then somebody's not going to like them. Well, I know what he did last week. I know what his reputation is. I know that he beat his wife when we were back in Egypt. So guys, listen. It is so beautiful.
He has a relationship with all the people to select them.
That's right.
Jobs did.
That's exactly it. How much more respect would you have for someone you know than someone who has said, okay, this is what you're going to do. These guys are going to be over you. So this is, they actually labeled this. It's in the Samaritan text. And the Samaritan, and I believe the Samaritan outdates the Masoretic, the Peshitta. And so this was actually more accurate than the Septuagint. Septuagint. I can't speak all these words. Thank you. I'm so glad you're here. I need an interpreter. This is actually verse 224, and it's A of chapter 18. And I want to read this to you just so that you can see that there's a difference. And Moshe said to the people, I alone am not able to bear you. Shema'ah, which is what he calls, which I suppose in Samaria is what they called Yahweh. Your Elohim has multiplied you, and here you are today as the stars of heavens. May Shema'ah, the Elohim of your forefathers, make you 1,000 times more numerous than you are, and bless you as he has promised you. He said, how can I alone bear your problems and your burdens and your complaints? He says, you choose wise, understanding, and knowledgeable men from among your tribes, and I will assign them heads over you. And they answered and said, this thing which you have said to do is good. And he took the heads of their tribes, wise and understanding men, and made them heads over them. So this kind of clarifies a little bit better that it was a coordination between Moshe and the tribes. He didn't just go out and say, oh, you group of men over there, and you group of men, come, I've got a task for you. These were men that the people themselves would listen to and would trust if they rendered a judgment on them. Yes. And so, guys, we're going to stop right now. We're going to go eat. We've got lots of food in there. I know, Maria, we have a kosher restaurant I don't think he knows he's kosher. I don't think he intended to be kosher. But we have a kosher restaurant here in town now. It's called the Butcher's Choice. Yeah. He,
Italian place.
yeah, actually Saul is working in there with him.
Saul?
Saul is in there. I love Saul. He is amazing. Saul and Rosa, I have missed him. So Scooter has the little restaurant. Scooter, I'm giving you free advertising here. I expect like a calzone or something. But they have got amazing food. But we have pizzas from his place that we had yesterday. So we're heating those up as well. So they're really good. It's like brisket and Gouda. What's more Gouda than that, right? It's Gouda. It's so Gouda. And if I'm not mistaken, and I may be mistaken on this, I believe he makes his own cheese.
It's a cheese.
So
Did it just open?
they just opened maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so their menu is very small. They're only opened Thursdays and Fridays, but it's really good. So we'll be dining on some of his pizza today as well.
I'm just wondering if the pepperoni's kosher.
No, he doesn't have pepperonis. And when he did do the pepperonis on his pizza prior, they were not pork. So live streamers, we have some new friends that have joined us today, and they don't know probably how we eat, but we eat Leviticus 11. Only what he tells us is food. So when you turn over to the New Testament and you think that Yeshua has declared all things clean, he has declared all food clean. Food. But you have to look at the definition of what's food, and you get it, in the front of the book. It's in Leviticus 11. So we're going to pray out, and we're going to go eat, and then we'll come back for part 2 in about 40 minutes. Okay? Dennis, here you are. Would you pray us out?
Oh, Father, we just thank you for this beautiful life, Father, and we thank you for our the new folks here, and we just hope that you open their ears, their eyes, and give us all receiving, reachable, teachable hearts, Father, that we can apply your word to our spiritual life, Father, and we love you. We thank you, and we just ask you to bless the food that's been prepared today, Father. Bless the hands that prepared it, and we just can't thank you enough for what you've done for us, you're doing for us, and that you'll continue to do for us, Father.
Yes.
Give us the strength to stand firm in your word, Father. Give us the strength to be the children that you've called us to be, Father. We just love you, and we thank you. Precious name of Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray. Amen. Give us the strength to go home and throw the bacon out of our
Okay, so live streamers, we want to thank you for joining us this morning. We're trying to shorten this down a little bit. We are going to have part 2. We welcome you back to our second part.
I got kids at the house.
And
they're probably tearing the place up.
you can bring them next time.
I'm stuck away for a couple hours, but they're probably I gotta get home.
Good. Well, we're glad you came.
Y'all need to show each other candy. Hey, nice
to meet you too.
I met you a while back, but
I did meet you. I gave you one of those.
I have that on my desk.
That's it.
Still in the wrapper. That's not good enough.
So guys, we hope you can come back and join us for part 2, because we're actually going to get into the commandments. Be blessed and Shabbat Shalom.